Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Today we're going to talk about some October baits that I will have in my boat all month, and I think you guys should as well. It really doesn't matter if you're down south or up north. You're going to see a lot of water temperature fluctuation where you start dropping from almost summer type temperatures down to your wintering temperatures in some places. For me, there have been years where we've actually frozen over in northern Wisconsin by the end of October. So it's something just to keep in mind. You get a lot of fish that are starting to transition from certain areas to their wintering areas. You've got a lot of fish that are starting just to really feed up well. Some forage species are starting to go into hibernation. You might have your crayfish, your frogs, things like that are starting to move into those areas where the bass can no longer eat them. So from that standpoint, they're trying to take advantage of that well they can. And it's not necessarily like they're just going to key in on crayfish or frogs. It's just really a matter that all these forage species are also moving. They're also migrating. You know, frogs are going from swamps to the lakes, so they're more accessible now. Crayfish are starting to move into areas where they're going to hibernate. You've got a lot of shad that are moving from deep water areas to shallow water creeks. It just makes everything much more accessible, and the fish just take advantage of it. So what we're going to go over today are some of the baits that I absolutely love. I'll put links for these into the video description. If you want to go to Tackle Warehouse and purchase them, please use those links. It's my affiliate link, so I get a small percentage of the sales. And I just put that money right back into making YouTube content to hopefully help us all catch a few more fish. All right, so let's talk about some of these baits. There's really no particular order here, but one of the first baits I'm always going to go with is a walking topwater bait. This is the Reaction Innovation Vixen. I'm a big fan of this one specifically, but the key here is to recognize that you have a lot of fish that are going to start feeding up on shad. With falling water temperatures, you do have some of the weaker shad, the weaker bluegill, just the panfish and the forage species that are not in good shape start dying off because the water temperature starts dropping, and a topwater becomes a great bait because of that. You also have a lot of fish that are in those transitional routes going from deep to shallow, so they're using places like points and channel swing banks and shallow flats or rock transitions, things like that, where a topwater bait can be an excellent bait to cover those areas. Just some of the most exciting fishing of the year can be on a topwater bait, and the walking baits, in my opinion, shine this time of year. Now, along that same line, I also think throwing a frog can be absolutely dynamite. Now, what I just said earlier was the frogs are in transition, so you definitely have a big wave of frogs that are going from those marshy, super shallow, swampy areas that the bass can't get to. But the frogs are starting to migrate out to the lakes, to the rivers, to the ponds where they've got 2 to 4 foot of mud bottom areas. Generally, you're talking like your pad fields, your swampy type areas that just have enough water depth where those frogs can pull out and hibernate over the winters. Makes them very accessible to the bass. So you'll have a lot of really good frog bite that occurs in the month of October when your water temperature is around the 60-degree mark. It's something that I think surprises a lot of people, but it's one of the reasons why a frog is so good. At the same standpoint, because you have a lot of shad moving shallow, a frog is a great shad imitator as well. A lot of people don't realize that, but it's just still a topwater bait. It's floundering on the surface. It looks just like some sort of dying anything, really. So from that standpoint, your frog can be an absolute killer. I always have one tied up until the water temperature usually drops, I'm going to say, to like that 58-degree mark. That's when I start putting it away. I'll also pull it out in the spring at roughly the same time. Another bait, absolutely killer, is a jerkbait. So this is the Berkeley Stunna. This is the 112+1. One of my favorites all around. A jerkbait is just a great bait. Again, you've got fish starting to key in on shad. You've got fish that are just starting to key in on dying bait fish. And a jerkbait's a great bait. Like, we know it's a great cold water bait. We now know how good it is as a year-round bait, but it really still is one of the best and most efficient baits at generating strikes when your water temperatures are starting to cool off drastically. I personally generally go with a slightly deeper diving model like the +1 here. Just, it allows me to fish a little bit of a wider range of water column. but don't be afraid to go with the regular size or even the smaller sizes. A lot of times you do get fish that are keying in on really small bait fish this time of year, and from that standpoint, dropping down to some of the smaller jerkbaits can be really key as well. And when that happens, another one to go with is just your small swim bait. Again, just a really good fish catcher, works all over the country, but like a little 3-3 Kitech like this. This has got a little core tackle tush jig head in it, the finesse tush. Just a killer bait at mimicking one of the primary forages this time of year and just generating bites. Doesn't matter what species of bass you're after, but a small swim bait can be absolutely killer. And then the last thing, and I've done a lot of videos recently on a jig, but a jig is a very, very good bait. And in my opinion, it's for a couple of reasons. Primarily, it's a great bait at being able to fish some of those hard target objects that are holding heat. And if they're holding heat and you get falling water temperature, cold-blooded creatures like bass like to congregate by them. So whether you're fishing a stump, a lay-down tree, a rock pile, a jig is a great presentation for that because it's a weedless presentation and you can throw it into the heaviest of stuff. So this one is the Dirty Jigs Luke Clausen Compact Pitching Jig. I've got a little Berkeley 3-inch Pit Boss on there as a trailer, just one of my preferred go-to jigs on the market. But it's a great bait at generating big bites. I also think it's very good at, again, mimicking some of the crayfish that are starting to move, as well as some of the bluegill that are in transition as well. But a jig is just one of those baits. It generates really big bites. I don't think you get maybe as many bites on the jig as you would some of those other baits, but man, it can put some of the biggest fish of the year in the boat for you. So these will be in my boat almost all month of October. Let me know what you'll be using in your boat during the month of October. Share that in the comment section. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned. We'll have a new video coming out tomorrow.